We are live again. Vicki Joy, I like those headphones. It looks like you have a halo over there.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I don't deserve a halo. I liked them because they were pink, of course.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me put on my glasses and then look, because I didn't even see the color. Yeah, I do see some pink over there. I do see some pink. Hey, Vic, tonight is a great night because just a few minutes ago, our Strange Land event conference, if you want to call that, web page went live.
Ooh.
And what that means is you can go over there and you can register for the conference. So take a look here. All the way at the top, you have, of course, the location, which is going to be at Freedom Ridge Church, 2200 Bedford Boulevard, Ontario, Ohio, which is Mansfield, Ohio. Either one of those would work. And then right on the right-hand side, if anybody wants to, they can register. Anybody who registers is going to get a free a link to the Out of the Darkness conference sent to them. Okay, so lots of stuff there, lots of videos. Vic, you were there, I was there, and maybe no one's seen that before. I know a lot of people have. A lot of our listeners have. They've either seen it or they were there in person. So anyway, you're going to get that for free. That'll give you an idea of what a conference is like if you don't know. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So hey, real quick, let's recap the guest at the conference. And Katie, if you can bring that up again. And if you're just now tuning in, yes, it is true. The Through the Black conference for 2025 is live. The website is live. So just kind of going down through, I introduced these guys. Well, I told everybody who they were last week. So it's Jason. Hold on a second here. It's Jason Spears and Christopher Dean from Operation Red Pill. Yeah, thank you. The awesome podcast. They're going to be talking about the satanic control matrix, something like that. We're going to release the schedule in January. Okay. And then going down, we have who do we have next? Patrick Meechan, who wrote the book Nightmare in Holmes County. Good book, good guy. He's going to be there. Vic, you want to take a couple of these?
Sure.
Down here, what do we got?
Yep. Everybody knows Coach Dave. Coach Dave, he is going to be our closing act, correct? He's going to get up and fire everybody up. The closing ceremony, so to speak, what were you calling it, Tom? It wasn't like
commission.
The commission. That was one of the things that we got the most comments of from the Out of the Darkness conference was that commissioning final message. I pretty much everybody there went forward and basically said, I want to make a difference for Christ. I want to be in the battle. I want to do this. And so it'll be cool to have Coach Dave at the helm doing that. Hey, shout out to Pastor Sean, who's in the house.
Hey, what's up, Pastor Sean? Okay, what do we got here? Go ahead, Vic.
George, very, very good friend of mine. George is the author of From Queer to Christ. And he is, I'm so glad that George is going to be there. He is going to tackle the apologetics in the LGBTQ space. And he is well equipped. He came out of the community. Great guy, man of God, and super great sense of humor. And like we were talking about last time, Tom, we're trying to get people on the panel this time that aren't just maybe the regulars that we see all of the time. And I think George Carneal did go there for a couple years ago, but I'm really glad that he's going to be there and that he's going to get to meet more people.
Yeah, Vic, man, we love all of our family that comes out to these conferences. And we wish we could have them all every time, but we're trying to change it up a little bit. And we want to bring some other people on board, right?
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
okay, George Carneal, who we got next down here? Hey, Mark Harrington, this guy, what a guy, man. I'm telling you what, he is a hard worker. And what a great mentor to my son. My son stayed at his house for 2 summers in a row. This guy saves more babies on accident than anybody else does on purpose. Okay. He does, and he's a master at it. And I am telling you what, he's OG. He's been doing this for a while. He has a calling on his life, and uh, he's just really good at what he does. He trains kids to protect life, to defend life, and they're really good at it at changing minds. And they're just boots on the ground all the time. Anyway, look up Created Equal. By the way, if you want to link to anybody's website, you can click on the picture, or I believe the name will take you there. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
we are all created equal. Powerful ministry. These guys they're going right to the abortion clinics, and they are saving babies, I want to say, on a regular basis, and they're up against just insanity. Okay. The other side has their game together too. So anyway, Save Them. Landon from Save Them is going to be there. He's going to. I asked him to come and share his story about South Africa. I'm sure he's going to talk about a lot of stuff. This is another boots on the ground person, anti-trafficking, just working to expose this, working in all kinds of ways to protect children. So the next one is Noel Kidd. And man, I've known this guy for a long time. Geez, since I was in high school, he was in a band, and then he became a pastor. These guys almost got signed to a major Christian deal, Urgent Message. That's so far in his past. I mean, this guy, he was a killer singer, probably. I'm sure he still is, but he has ministry way beyond that. And he turned down being a rock star for Jesus to be a pastor.
Wow.
Okay. And he's just got years and years of ministry experience, and he's going to share. He was in the film Detestable. You didn't know that, and I asked him to share that testimony because it's still pretty powerful. It's still powerful. So who knows what else he's going to come down and talk about? But anyway, and then we have this is that guy I keep forgetting, Vic.
Oh man, this is a friend of the ministry.
Yeah.
Audio.
That's why he's coming, is because we're just trying to be nice to him.
That's right. We feel sorry for him. Poor guy. Yeah. So we Audiotopsy co-host. So.
Yeah, that's how I know him.
That's how
That's how I know him. Okay,
that's right.
It's clicking now.
So he is coming. I'm super excited. He is my brother from another mother, and I'm not sure what he's going to talk about. I don't know if he's going to do his usual stuff or if he's going to throw us for a loop, but he's always got something really cool to say. Kenny has just recently got on Substack. I don't know if you guys know that. And he's actually been writing articles, and I've been reading them, and he's a good writer. He's writing some good apologetic stuff, and I'm really happy for him. I'm really proud of him. So it's nice to see him branching out and doing some more writing. And but he's going to be speaking at the conference. Maybe, hopefully, he is going to bring his guitar and maybe grace us with a little bit of that. I hope. I'm kind of hoping him and Noel will maybe do a little jam session together.
You never know what could happen. You never know. Oh, here we go.
Who dat?
Here we go. Vicki Joy. Vicki Joy, an emphasis on the joy. Hey, my co-host for a long time. Obviously, we can't do this without you. So cool you're going to be here hanging out and doing your thing. Maybe you will just not only share with us what you've been doing, but what you've been doing behind the scenes. I know you got a lot of stuff coming up, and the folks are ready. They're ready to see what you're doing next. And But I know you take very seriously everything that you're going to speak on and how you're going to do it, and you're praying about it. So looking forward to that, sister.
Me too, man. Me too. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Special video from Dr. Gregory Reed. Greg Reed, everybody knows him, and powerful ministry, just amazing brother. He's not going to be there in person, but he's going to make a video for us. Okay. There's going to be more people to be announced. Okay. We'll let you know about that when we get it confirmed. But we have an amazing team, and I've got some more people that are going to be involved here in Mansfield this time. It's kind of cool. We got home court advantage, Vic. So here it is in my hometown, and it's close to where Katie lives. So she's going to be here and just working behind the scenes. We already had a meeting at the church last week and walked through and did some praying and took a look at how can we use this space for the conference and how is it going to be just best used. So now I do need to say this. On Thursday night, before the conference even starts, there's going to be a class on Freedom Encounters, a crash course in Freedom Encounters, which I'm going to do. And it's not going to be any like super in-depth teaching, but we want to just kind of give some people some confidence and some direction if they don't know anything about this, and just kind of walk people through a few scenarios, okay, and let them ask some questions. So, and Vic, I'm hoping I haven't asked you. Will you be there for that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Good. Yeah, good. True. Okay, that would have been embarrassing if you told me no right there on the air.
We'll talk later.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
so,
no.
Guys, you can go over there now and get a ticket. People are asking, how can you help? The way you can help is support this conference. Pray for this conference. Come to this conference. If you can't make the conference, then you can get the streaming. That's going to be, we'll have information as we get closer to the conference on how you can do that. Just pray for the speakers, okay? If anybody wants to donate to make the conference a success, the man math is not looking so great, but God math always works out, right? So, but anyway, if anybody wants to do anything like that, there's options for that. We appreciate it. We, of course, we started doing this a long time ago. I started going to conferences with Russ Dizdar. Our good friend has been going, can you believe 3 years, Vic? It's so weird.
Oh my gosh, no.
It just doesn't. I think about him all the time. I really do, and I miss him.
It's funny because it doesn't seem like it's been 3 years, but in some ways it seems like it's been 20. You know what I mean?
I know it does. And because of what he taught us, that's what we're carrying on. And I think this is going to be a great conference. I'm so glad it's going to be in my town. And Vic, for the people that are coming, we want to impact local people too. We want people to come from wherever they come from, but we also want people in our town to come to this conference. So we're going to be reaching out locally. And I'm saying to our listeners, keep that in mind. You know, you as an attendee have an opportunity to minister to not only the people at the church, okay, but the locals that are going to be there. We're hoping we're going to get a lot of locals, and we're going to expose them to some really, really important information. So, Vic, last words on the conference.
Yeah, so it's cool. We're getting some different people on stage, and I think we might be getting some different people in the seats too. So that's cool.
So yeah, the hotel information is not ready to go yet, so we're building some anticipation there. Keep checking back. I know that that we're working on that behind the scenes and trying to get it nailed down and trying to find the best situation for the people. But there are lots of hotels around. But there's going to be a conference special at one of these hotels. I don't know which one. So, Vic, we have a few things. Oh, dude, something just like went in my throat. We have some stuff to talk about tonight, but
Yeah. Hey, while you clear your throat, I'm gonna offer up a shameless plug. So I'm wearing a hat tonight. This is my logo, VJA. This was designed by a friend of the ministry, Ashley, by the way. Hat tip to Ashley.
hey,
But Kenny, the aforementioned Rock with Kenny C and Gidget have a website, and they've been doing merch for Derek and Sharon Gilbert, myself, other people as well. But this website, which is lighthivecreations.com, Gidget has tons of stuff on this website. There are candles, Christmas ornaments, t-shirts, mugs, cups, tumblers. Like if anyone's ever seen Kenny C's table at a conference with all the cool stuff he's got on there, this is the actual storefront that is behind that. So lots of cool Christmas gifts on here. But if you go to the homepage, I think I'm listed right there on the left under my name, and there are t-shirts, mugs, and hats. Thank you in advance for your support.
guys, yeah. Thanks, for the comments, for the chat, for the thumbs up, and for subscribing. And when you share this, I also want to mention one last thing about the conference is I'm putting out tons of artwork and videos. We're going to be doing that over the next month. And when you guys share it, it helps us get the word out there about the conference. Okay. Matter of fact, I don't know. I got a really weird video that maybe I don't know if Katie can play that video. I didn't let her know ahead of time. So it just dropped like almost 30 minutes ago. So this could be one of those nights, Vic, where we keep Katie on her toes to see if because we haven't even talked about what we're going to talk about tonight. We're just showing up and
shooting from the hip.
Yeah, we are shooting from the hip. We know some things have been going on in the news. That's all I know is I have the information. I don't have the details. But I'm wondering, Katie, if you here we go. Here is the video that we just dropped. It's a little promo. If you guys share this, that would be awesome. Here we go, Vic.
Cool.
Tickets available now.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. Love that little 80s vibe. The synth
is a little retro, right?
Yeah, love it.
So, but Vic, I remember the 80s.
I do too, man. Oh, weren't those the days? Leg warmers, members only jackets, trapper keepers, Rubik's cubes.
Rubik's cubes. Those were cool. What else did we have?
Oh man.
Awesome TV.
Yep.
We had like the Incredible Hulk and Dukes of Hazzard.
A-Team.
The A-Team.
Mm.
Hey, do you remember the show that came on after the A-Team?
Riptide. Riptide with the boat.
The boat and the helicopter.
Yes. Yeah. This is the thing back in the 80s, kids, when families typically only had one television. If you had an older brother, you watched whatever he wanted or you got beat up.
Yeah. Well, now you don't have you have all kinds of options. You basically had to choose between 3 networks what you're going to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you had. And then there were shows that you may not have known anything about because you couldn't watch them because you were watching the show that you liked.
Yeah.
You were voting with your dial, right?
Yep. My mom actually, fun fact, cut her very first date with my dad short because she didn't want to miss Gunsmoke.
Dude, I think my dad liked that show.
My mom was into the westerns.
Okay.
Yep.
Man, I tell you what, I love the show The Wild Wild West. Do you remember that?
I only remember the movie.
Well, the movie probably not as good as the show,
Probably
but
not.
Jim West was the character's name.
Oh,
What was the guy's? I want to
that's
say his
clever.
name was Robert Conrad, but I can't remember.
Okay. I don't remember that one.
And
No.
it was really cool. It was made back in the 70s, and it was about you know, um probably set 100 years before that or more, about a cowboy who worked for the government. He was like an FBI agent, like he was a spy or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he had all these gadgets in his cowboy suit.
Wow. He like predated Inspector Gadget.
Yes. Yeah. It was a cool show. Anybody else remember the Wild Wild West? It came on Sunday nights with Star Trek. Came on. I'm talking about reruns, maybe. But
Lynette just said City Slickers.
yes, City Slickers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Oh,
what
yeah.
was the name of that dude? Oh, he was the actor. Billy Crystal was in that movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Oh man, my daughter, my stepdaughter, just recently got a Nintendo Switch. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these things, but they have all these old video games on them.
Oh, wow.
So I was playing Donkey Kong Jr. a few days ago.
Gosh, that's what we forgot. That was what was so great about the 80s was the arcade. You'd go
Yes.
and hang out at the arcade. You'd put your quarter on there because you were next. You were holding your spot in line.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We had one in our town. It was called the Family Amusement Center. And they had rows of video games, and they had putt-putt in the back.
Yep. Skee ball.
Super cool.
Yep.
So, but yeah, anyway, yeah. Speaking of stepdaughters, I don't know. I just want to give this advice. If you're ever thinking about having a stepdaughter, you got to build yourself up psychologically. You got to be strong. You can't be
not for the weak.
No, it's not. It's not for the weak-minded. It is not. So just I don't know. Mine is back from college, on break, and been spending some time with her, and I don't know. Tonight I was scratching my back on the door frame.
As you do.
Yeah, like
of course.
It's a good spot to scratch your back.
That's what they're there for.
And she's like, "Don't you have like 3 back scratchers?" So, and she doesn't sound like that, but that's the way I heard it, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then, the fun began. It's just like, but I think that's her love language.
Maybe.
Is, breaking down my self-esteem. Like,
it's the junior high boy approach.
Right.
Like the meaner they are, the more they have a crush on you.
Right. But Vic, when you were a teenager, I mean, what were you like?
I don't know if I have a proper self-assessment of myself because I just remember being withdrawn and always having like a sneer on my face and not being very nice and being overly sarcastic. But I think maybe I'm overemphasizing that aspect. Maybe that's just the way I felt inside. I mean, I definitely, but I don't know, Tom. I can't really remember. I think I was really obnoxious. I think I was really loud. And I don't know. I always feel like this is really funny, Tom. I have this memory of being like really withdrawn and whatnot. And when my mom passed away, I read her 1990 and her 1991 journal. She said I did.
Yeah.
And it was really crazy because she would write every day. And so I like relived 2 entire years of my life, and I was probably 18 and 19 during that time period, and I it was not the way I remembered it. I was, like, working 2 jobs, I was, like, working my butt off, and mom was constantly saying that I was going out with friends, and I'm like, "I don't remember that at all. I don't remember having friends, I don't remember going out, I don't remember working, I kinda just only have memories of sitting in my room moping." So, I think I was a lot more active and social than I think I remember, but it was also really humbling reliving those 2 years of my life through my mother's eyes because, oh gosh, Tom, it was so embarrassing because like I said, I was like 19, 18, 19, 20 in the time period, and I was so absolutely immature and selfish. Like
Mm.
mom would say like she wasn't like bad mouthing me in the journal, but she was just I thought, "Oh my gosh, if anybody read this, they would think I was just this, like, obnoxious,
It's
spoiled little
embarrassing, isn't
brat."
it?
It was, like, I didn't remember how completely selfish and immature
Well,
I was.
my mom didn't have a journal, but
You're lucky.
well, no, I just see my kids and they act like I did, and I'm like, "Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot."
Constant reminder.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh gosh.
was I like this? Yes, I was."
Oh, man. I
Yeah.
didn't remember being that emotional, like,
Makes
every other
me
day my
feel like I
mom's
need to
like
go apologize to my mom.
yeah. Well, see, I felt that way. I'm like, "Oh, man, mom died before I grew up." So, like, she never got to see, like, the Vicky that kinda got herself together a little bit. That's too bad. She'll be in for a big surprise when she sees me again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess we live and we learn. I don't know. My grandpa, when I had a son who I did have a son, and he's 30 years old now, gonna be 31 in a couple months.
What? Oh my god.
And my grandpa would tell me, he said, "Now you're gonna pay for your sins." That's what he said.
That's hilarious. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. My grandpa, um, he would always joke about how poor he was, right? I mean, he literally did grow up in the hills of Kentucky. I went to the house where he was born. He was born in a house, and it was
Oh.
way up on a hill in Kentucky, on the top of a hill, but it's close to the Ohio River. And I don't know how many brothers and sisters. It was like ridiculous how many they had. But he said that when they were young, they were so poor that his that his dad would go out back at Christmas time and fire off a shotgun and say Santa Claus committed suicide. There was nothing eating Christmas.
Oh man, times have changed.
Yeah. So you got to do what you got to do. But anyway,
I mean, just that very sentence would have at least 3 bleeps if it was on YouTube these days. It's so
well,
funny.
it is now. Yeah.
You know what's crazy about this whole, like, bleeping out, like, words we can't say anymore is it actually puts more emphasis on it. Like, if you just say a sentence, my brain might not necessarily fixate on it, but if you bleep it out and then my brain is searching for it and then I'm finding the word, that's actually forcing me to visualize it. Like, so you're actually putting even more emphasis on the things that you're bleeping. I don't know. These are the
Yeah.
things I think about.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, right? So, I mean, it piques your interest. So you're like, okay, hold on. I'll stop it if something's bleeped out. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what are they trying to not tell me right now?
I
Is it
know.
a cuss word or is it something I need to know? Or
You know what's crazy, Tom? This was so like I love like psychological things like this. So they probably don't bleep swear words out anymore at all. But like when you think about the word like GD, it used to be when I was a kid, if a show was edited for television, it would bleep out the D word, right?
Mm.
I saw this old movie and they said the GD word and they bleeped out God. That was the part that they thought was profane and didn't wanna have on
Yeah,
television. Isn't that crazy? And
yeah, isn't that
now
crazy?
I
The
don't think they
FCC, I mean, I don't it you were not allowed to say those two words together.
mhm.
And of course now anything goes.
Yeah, I don't think they bleep it out at
Yeah.
all anymore, but that it's interesting, now they don't bleep it, but in the '80s, they would bleep the D,
Yeah.
But before that, they would actually bleep the God part, which was the actual profanity of it.
Yeah, and Katie just informed me this show might get flagged because I said, and I don't want to say the word again,
Santa
but
Claus.
yeah, Santa Claus. We're gonna get flagged
That's right.
because of that. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I said Santa Claus unalived himself. So
that's so stupid.
yeah. There we go. Okay.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I'm not used to using the new Orwellian speak.
I know.
So shame on me. Shame on me.
Ridiculous.
I'm gonna go.
How dare you?
Yeah, Santa Claus myself.
Santa Claus is fine, kids.
Yeah. So, Vic, I don't even know where to start. I know there's some events that are going on, and I was halfway through the day. Did this happen yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before. There was a shooting up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. I would make a terrible journalist. I was like, okay, I better watch a few of these newsreels so that when we talk about it, I can have some information. And Tom, the story changed every day. Like, I can't get to the bottom of what actually happened. All the details. Now, I realize that when a crime first happens, everyone's in chaos and it takes a while and they get things wrong and then they have to correct. I get that. But it was, first the kid was 17, then they were 15, 4 people got killed, then it was 3, and then it was a second grader called 911. No, it was a second grade teacher. No, just kidding, it really was a second grader. They interview a second grader revamping like the whole call that they had, but then they're like, no, just kidding, it wasn't a second grader. Well, then it's like, well, then who'd you just interview? I can't get to the bottom of the details. And I don't know. It was a Christian school in like the Madison area. I'm not really sure.
Okay, let's take a look at this here, and then I'll share. I was on the road yesterday, so in between stops, I pulled out X and I saw some stuff, and I didn't know if it was true. It was, how a lie goes around the world before the pants can even get its or before the truth can even get its pants on, right? So I got it backwards. Shooter at Abundant Life School in Madison identified as a 15-year-old female student. Man, what is up with the female shooters? Okay, the horror of a school shooting struck the Madison area for the second time in 7 months on Monday, when the police say a teenager shot 8 people before taking her own life at a private Christian school. In total, a student and teacher were killed and 6 people were injured. 2 of them are in critical condition with life-threatening injuries, and 4 suffered injuries that weren't life-threatening. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes said. Barnes identified the suspect teen shooter Monday night as hold on a second. Sorry, I'm getting people messaging me for something else. I'm sorry. Barnes identified the suspect teen shooter Monday night as 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, who went by Samantha and was a student at the school. She was found with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound and died while in transport to hospital, the chief added. The shooting took place inside a study hall filled with students from different grades. Barnes said the chief originally said Monday that a second grader was the first person to call 911, but clarified Tuesday that the caller was a second grade teacher. Shock and grief reverberated across Wisconsin as news of the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School speared Monday. As police methodically cleared the K through 12 school, which sits on a 28-acre campus with a preschool and a church, city buses took students to a clinic down the road, serving as a reunification point. Some children peered out of the bus window, waving to news crews gathered near the school. Others appeared somber. As they arrived at the clinic, the parents ran inside to meet their children. Some were seen carrying out infant car seats. One child left the clinic with his parents wearing a Santa hat, a reminder that the shooting rocked the school community preparing for Christmas. Most parents declined to speak publicly. This hits you in the gut. Dane County Executive Melissa Agard said, every one of us affected by this unimaginable and unacceptable violence. So anyway, keep it there in case we continue to read, Katie, or just don't lose our spot. But Vic, go ahead. I mean, jump in there.
I don't even know what to think. You know, Tom, back in our Rumble days when we were doing the morning show on Rumble a couple years ago, we were doing a lot of shows with that were like teen crime, and you were studying kind of like the psychology of it and whatnot. And we were kind of seeing this theme with the teenagers that they would kind of want to emulate, and they admired and emulated kind of like the Columbine guys and stuff like that. But a lot of them, it started with like watching anime, and it was like a lot of like fantasy thinking, and it was weird that like the downward spiral these kids would have. Now, I tried to find in the news on the first day that it happened, because for me, being a lot older, now granted, when you and I were in school, we didn't have kids on all sorts of psychotropic medication. They did we still kind of were in the tail end of the Leave It to Beaver kind of world, right? But it was so jarring for me when I read that it was a female, because I mean, I had a rough time in junior high. I had a rough time at 15, and I had a lot of problems, and I felt like I was unhappy, and I had a lot of rage, and I had a lot of fantasies in my mind of vengeance on all the people that were mean to me, but they were just silly girl like ideas, like, you know, I'm gonna get hit by a car and be in the hospital, and you'll all feel bad that you were ever mean to me. That kind of stuff, just immature girl stuff. Like it's so shocking to me that it would be wired into the DNA of a 15-year-old girl to bring a pew pew to school and do harm to people. Like, it's
No.
such an extreme, like it's not the way 15-year-olds typically. I don't think, like, I know it's a different world we live in. I mean, you've had you have kids, Tom. Is this a normal thing? Do 15-year-old girls, is that the way they handle being bullied or abused? Or I don't know. Like, if that was
No, it's not normal. And I tell you, and it's, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's very highly unlikely that a girl's going to do it. Okay. But we have seen, this is, to my recollection, this is the second female shooter at a Christian school. Don't forget the Nashville, Tennessee shooting. There was a girl, a transgender girl posing as a boy. I get so mixed up. I can't remember who, which way they were going. Okay. But I'm pretty sure it was a girl, born a girl, acting as a boy, shooting Christians. I mean, I want to answer your question. I want to talk about that, but I also want to ask the question about Christians being targeted. I mean, are we just going to see more Christian schools and churches and Christians everywhere targeted? People are mad at Christians. People hate Christians. People, seem to hate God. I don't think they know him well enough to hate him. But I mean, somebody said, Robert said, fake until proven real. Well, I'll tell you, I don't have any problem believing that people died or people are being killed, because we live in a country where people love to kill people, starting with little babies. Okay. So it's nothing. Marilyn Manson wrote the song Disposable Teens, and not endorsing Marilyn Manson, but it was about the Columbine shooting. And I mean, let's start right there. So there's a line in that song where he talks about we survived abortion. But what I take away from that song that Marilyn Manson gets that a ton of other people missed was these kids were born under a Supreme Court ruling, Roe v. Wade, that they don't have any value.
Oh.
We could have killed you in the womb. You have no value. Disposable teens. Okay. So it doesn't matter if they live. So why should we be surprised if somebody walks through a school starting to shoot somebody? We told them they had no value when they were in the womb. You know? So is it possible that it's fake and nobody died and all that stuff? Yeah, it is. You know, do I trust everything that happened with Sandy Hook? No, I don't. Okay. But that doesn't mean every single school shooting is, suspect like this. Okay. But who knows? These guys are good at what they do. Okay. Either way. And they don't care. I mean, they don't care. They'll kill kids to prove a point, And we said this, and man, I said this 4 years ago, right before the inauguration of Joe Biden. Because school shootings go up when Democrats get in office because they have a leverage to get rid of guns there. So I made a video, and it's back in the archive somewhere. Don't kill kids, please don't kill kids. And that's what they like to do. They don't care about our kids. They'll send a MK Ultra mind controlled person in there and shoot up kids. And they'll blame it on whoever, it doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to, fit into any kind of a story or a narrative. Like, why did this person do this? Now, Vic, I'm jumping around here. All these things are on the table to bring back up and talk about. When I was on my break yesterday, I saw a manifesto. Did you see this at all?
I think they kept alluding to it in the stories that I watched. They kept mentioning manifestos and social media, but they weren't showing anything on the ones that I saw. Yeah. They weren't divulging anything.
And Lynette says false flag does not mean it's faked. Exactly. So a false flag can mean real deaths. Absolutely.
Sure. Especially if they want a blood ritual.
School shootings in a few months. So, and this is not the first. I mean, think of Columbine. Remember the song by what's the name of the group? Lacey Strum was the singer of the group. I lost it now. Anyway, it's about her. They asked her if she was a Christian. Her very well knowing she was going to get killed when she said it. She said, "Yes, I'm a Christian." They shot her.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody else. Oh, what was her name? Oh, man. There was a book about her. I apologize for not remembering.
Was there a Cassie?
Flyleaf. Yes, Cassie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cassie was the name of the song. Flyleaf is the name of the band.
Okay.
And Lacey Strum is the singer. Powerful song. There's an acoustic version if you're too old for the rocking stuff. But she said yes.
One of the things that I think is interesting, Tom, is one of the last school shootings that was reported. Remember how they kind of put a barricade around and they wouldn't let, it was almost like they weren't trying to get the gunman or anything. Remember the mom that came and broke through the tape and ran into the school and rescued her kids?
It's the one down in Texas. I went through that town.
So you wonder, here's a couple of my questions. And I realize everything in the world doesn't get reported, right? But what's their selection process? So I read today that this is the 83rd school shooting in the United States this year. So in 2024, there's 83 of them. And I don't remember 83 of them being reported. Maybe there was even more than 83 of them. I don't know. So it's like certain ones get press and certain ones don't. And then certain cases, there's a whole bunch of Keystone cops coming and fumbling the ball over and over and over again, like on the East Coast and like in Texas. But then you've got this one where you've got the sheriff or whoever he is where they went in and they disarmed the person as soon as possible, and that everything to do with the safety, like they seem to be doing everything correct. So it just seems like, I mean, I guess maybe it comes down to what the police station in that particular district is, how seriously, I don't know, but these are the things that just don't add up to me. Like, how do they decide which one is important enough to report? And why, in some cases, do they seem like they are legitimately trying to diffuse the situation as quickly as possible? And other times it looks like, the Keystone Cops have come in and they're just like doing a Laurel and Hardy routine.
That's a real good question. I my when my kids were in school, I was really on top of just anything that they offered at the school as far as teaching training, for the kids, for the teachers. I was good friends with the school resource officer and had many conversations with him. I actually knew him years before, so that was nice. But I had many conversations with him about school shootings and about the types of people that do those sort of things. And we've even had some good debates over MK Ultra stuff. He doesn't subscribe to the things I do. Super nice guy. But and we talked about this stuff. I remember when he told me the biggest problem that we're having right now, okay, this is before all the school shootings erupted, was sexting. Students sending pictures of themselves to each other. He said it took off so quick when students started getting cell phones that they couldn't do anything about it. And it was a serious problem. I think that kind of died down. And then, as horrific as that is, then they were worried about, the school shootings and protecting the schools and things like that. But I mean, what schools? What about churches? How many churches have somebody went into? Even didn't they even go into Joel Osteen's church?
Yeah.
I think that was last year. But
it was recent. It was in the last year or two. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place.
I am too, because obviously things have changed since I was a kid. But like, I remember in one of the previous shows years ago now, I think when we were talking about the school shooting, you told a story about when you were maybe in junior high. I think you were in junior high. And I don't know if it was that you like wrote a short story or you drew a picture or something, and you were like straight in the principal's office with your parents, right?
Yeah.
And this is where my brain keeps dead ending, because we want freedom of speech and we don't want to be spied on and we don't want Big Brother watching every move. But when you're a kid, you don't have all the same rights, because you are a kid. And it seems like almost every one of these school shooters, it was all written. It was written in stone all over their social media, and like there was one recently, and it was, I think it was a boy, but remember how they actually prosecuted, or at least attempted to prosecute, the parents? Like, where did he get this gun? And look at all this stuff that was on this, all this stuff was on the social media. So it's like, at what point, like, I'm not all for schools regulating and spying on kids and hacking into all their social media and, slapping the wrists every time they, especially with how, like, everything's woke. Like, you can't even say, I don't like you when you're in trouble, right? So this is the disconnect to me, Tom. You've got kids who are undergoing disciplinary action for saying things like, I hate you, man, I'm going to beat you up. If you say any like of the unpolitically correct words, if you say anything that's not inclusive, you're in trouble. You can get suspended. You're getting hauled in. You're getting reprimanded. But then over here, you've got social media with all sorts of aggressive, violent threats. And then everybody just ignores that. And maybe that's hyperbole. Maybe everybody isn't ignoring it. But
Vic, an easy way to look at this is the rhetoric against President Trump. Over and over again, he's Hitler, he's Hitler, he's Hitler, he's Hitler.
Yeah. You can say
And
that.
I didn't know that this was going on because I don't watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have TV. But I saw somebody put together like a collage of all these clips, and I'm like, wow, no wonder people are trying to shoot him, and I mean, whatever that is or whatever it was, whatever happened in Pennsylvania, it didn't make sense. The guy up on the roof seemed like a MK Ultra dude. I mean, Vic, originally we're going to talk about the shooting of this banker insurance guy. I don't even know what happened there. I purposely have just been trying to ignore headlines for the last few weeks. I promised myself I would after the election. So I'm just trying to get through that cycle, but I'm not totally checked out.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think we brought this up before, but maybe somebody remember this song from the 80s called I Don't Like Mondays. Remember that song?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yep.
And again, dude, almost 52 years old.
Oh, man.
Cannot all the information is not there. Only
do not
part of the
apply
information.
for.
I'm looking and it's gone. It's gone.
Your days of being a contestant on Name That Tune are over, man.
It's the guy, the singer of the band was the guy that put on Live Aid. I know that. Anyway, that song, I Don't Like Mondays, is about a girl shooter.
Really?
That happened in the 70s, I think. And she pulled out a rifle and began shooting in to the school across the street.
Oh.
And I mean, she shot up some people. I don't know what kind of damage she did. Did she kill her mom? And when they asked her, when they finally caught her and arrested her, when she was being taken in, the press or somebody asked her, why did you do it? She said, I don't like Mondays.
Oh, my goodness. The Boomtown Rats?
Yeah, the Boomtown Rats.
I definitely wouldn't have. Oh, listen to this. The silicon chip inside her head? That was pretty out there for...
Is that another song?
I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. Yeah, no. On Monday morning of January 29, 1979, 16-year-old Brenda Ann Spencer opened fire.
This was in Cali. Read some more of that.
Okay. Opened fire on the elementary school across the street from her family home using a .22 cal rifle. She killed 2 adults and injured 8 students as well as a police officer before giving herself up to the police. She spoke to a reporter on the phone regarding her motive. Quote, I just started shooting. That's it. I just did it for the fun of it. I just don't like Mondays. I just did it because it's a way to cheer the day up. Nobody likes Mondays.
Yeah. So, okay. And Katie's bringing up
Bob Geldof.
Yeah, Bob Geldof, who played Pink in The Wall, by the way, also. The silicon chip inside her head gets switched to overload, and nobody's going to go to school today. She's going to make them stay at home, and Daddy doesn't understand it. He always said she was good as gold, and he can see no reason because there is no reason. What reason do you need to be shown? And the chorus, tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. I want to shoot the whole day down. This is interesting. I know this song, but I don't know this song. The telex machine is kept so clean, and it types to a waiting world. The mother feels so shocked. Father's world is rocked, and their thoughts turn to their own little girl. Sweet 16, ain't that peachy keen? Now that ain't so neat to admit defeat. They can see no reason because there are no reasons. What reasons do you need? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't like Mondays. I'm going to shoot the whole day down. There's a third verse. So Vic, yeah, I'm going to read this, but isn't it interesting? They're asking the same question in this song that we're asking now. Why did they do this?
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't find motive, it makes you wonder if they're programmed.
Well, look at the first line.
Yeah.
A silicone chip in her brain gets flipped on. I mean, that's
Isn't that weird?
MK Ultra stuff right there.
And all the playing stopped in the playground now. She wants to play with the toys a while, and school's out early, and soon we'll be learning. And the lesson today is how to die. And then the bullhorn crackies and the captain tackies and the problems of hows and whys. And he can see no reason because there are no reasons. What reason do you need to die? Die, oh. And then probably back to the verse. So, and then, yeah, it goes back to the first verse, I guess. And the silicone chip inside her head gets switched to overload. Wow. So it makes you wonder, what did Bob Geldof and the Boomtown Rats know? Very fascinating lyrics there in I don't know when the song came out. It was in
79.
The 80s, I'm sure.
79.
That's when the song came. I think the incident happened in 79, so the song came out the same year, maybe.
It's in Wikipedia, so it has to be true. No, it says the song was released in 79.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. And they're in the song again, they're asking the question why, the same question we're asking today. Vic, I remember when I started first hanging out with Russ Dizdar and reading about the Black Awakening and learning about it, and we were seeing a lot of these things started happening. Right before I met Russ, less than 2 years, we had the Virginia Tech shooting. And I remember being at work and seeing this, the news in the break room, and just thinking, this is life in America, right? Here we go. We haven't seen this in a while, but it was like the biggest thing since Columbine at the time. Then, fast forward a couple years, I meet Russ Dizdar, and then I'm replaying and learning all this stuff in my head. And it's like, why do these people have no motive? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm researching, I'm reading newspaper, and every day I'm just scouring the news and finding this stuff. I remember I found a lady in a Target store, a story of a lady in a Target store in California. This is not very well known, but she started stabbing. She pulled out a knife and she started stabbing somebody, and an off-duty police officer was able to stop her and apprehend her. And she kept screaming loud, there is no witness protection program. And she was claiming MK Ultra. I have a file on her upstairs, actually.
Wow.
Because I'm just tracking her. She got sentenced to some time in a psychiatric unit, and I'm assuming she got out now. And if everything is like it always is, I'm assuming they didn't do anything to help her. Maybe they did.
Medicated her.
What was her name? It started with a T. But anyway, the way that I looked that story up when I want to find it is the quote, there is no witness protection program. And it was a Target store, like, who knows, 12 years ago in California. But what's the motive? What's the motive? It doesn't make any sense. Normal people don't do these things. There are acts of passion or what do you say? Do you remember the movie Minority Report? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I actually have seen that. Yeah.
So this is interesting. Let's talk about this for a minute, because if the funny thing about that movie is I'd never seen the end of it. For whatever reason, something happens every time I want to watch that movie, and I don't think I've ever seen the complete end of it. But anyway, Minority Report, I think it's a Tom Cruise movie where they have these people that they call precogs, and they can predict the future, or they can catch premeditated murder. Okay, they're psychics that know they're like tapped into the city somehow, and they have these cops that go out and bust these guys before they commit murder, and it stops all of this crime. Okay, this is of course a fictitious, science fiction, movie, right? They got these precogs, these bald-headed girls swimming in a swimming pool, and somehow that helps them do what they do. But they have a hard time catching people who commit crimes of passion. Like, for example, a guy who catches his wife cheating, he didn't plan it out, so it just happens all of a sudden. So they're slow, on the draw for those types of things. But normal people don't do these things. I just kind of feel like with the MK Ultra stuff, with what we understand about spiritual warfare, demonic possession, demonic how do we want to say, demonic attack, in the way where if we're weak spiritually, or if we don't even know Jesus, we're highly susceptible to a hearing from the demonic. As Christians, we can be tempted, right? The devil can whisper in our ear. He can tempt us to lie, to cheat, to do whatever, to sin in some way. The Bible tells us that. So if we're not protected by God, then we're even more vulnerable to whatever suggestion. Okay. I mean, I've been experiencing piggybacking in the last 2 days. We need to do another show about that. But anyway, I don't want to blame the devil for everything. But when we're talking about emotional crimes like murder, okay? I mean, you got to be really evil to kill somebody, or you got to be really out of your mind. I'm kind of ranting here right now. Can you pull me in?
Yeah. So I want to go back to Minority Report for a second, because I mean, this is quite an old movie now. And if you haven't seen it, the precogs are children, by the way, and they have shaved heads. I'll tell you one part of the ending, because I don't remember how the whole crime part is resolved. The very last scene, the precogs are freed from their pool prison, and they're, given a wonderful life somewhere, right? And that whole concept of keeping these kids like slaves in the basement of some laboratory with the shaved head, where they're able to do psychic like abilities while they're in water tanks. We're seeing this same imagery in Stranger Things with Elle. We have her in some sort of a laboratory or a facility. She's enslaved there. The shaved head, every time they want her to perform her remote viewing, she's got stuff up to her head, in a tank of water. And we see this theme in a lot of sci-fi stuff. And it just seems like they're giving something away there. And this merging of some sort of psychic gift, which may be, demonic entities speaking to them, mixing with the technology, mixing with Big Brother kind of themes. But to your point, Tom, with the whole the motive and the here's the thing. I understand that kids can be under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stuff going on in school, especially if you're being bullied, or I get all that. But even if we say that there's some sort of demonization involved in it, it's an ingredient. It's not like the devil took their arm and said, "You will do it." Like in the horror movies, like, "No, I don't want to." "Yes, you'll do it." You know what I mean? You've got all of these. You've got trauma in a lot of these kids. You've got mental illness that's been diagnosed in a lot of these kids. You've got psychotropic medication with a lot of these kids. You've got music, binaural beats, trance music, which is coming back in vogue now. You've got a lot of kids that have access
Did you
to.
mention drug abuse? I mean,
I was just going to say they have access to THC, or worse, right? And you add to that, like any dysfunction in the home, any dysfunction at school, if they're struggling in school with their academics, or they're getting teased, or they're not getting asked out, or like whatever. It's a perfect storm. And if this kid has already been, say, given a label like schizophrenia, or what's the new one now? It's like the anger disorder. Someone in the chat might know. It's like an explosive something disorder where someone just flies into a rage. If you've already been given a label, so this is kind of what you were saying earlier, Tom, with these kids have already been told they're of no value, now they have a label where you're mentally ill. You have an illness that where you're going to hear voices, and that's totally normal. And you're hearing voices. You've got, if you have any sort of psychotropic or psychedelic thing compounded, and you hear a voice, if you're used to hearing voices, how are you going to split all the hairs? This is my voice. This is my inner monologue. This is my conscience. This is the mental illness. This is the pharmakia, or this is now an external demonic voice. And if you've got one of these mental illness diagnoses with the corresponding medication, where you cannot get peace from that thought until you satisfy it, and the thoughts are ramping up to more and more violent type of thoughts, it's like they're creating this perfect storm for these kids.
Vic, schizophrenia, hearing voices. I hear voices. I hear the voice of God, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't want to say I hear audible voices, but I recognize the prompting of the Spirit of God. And sometimes he's got to really spell it out for me. I get confirmation through scripture, I'll tell you something. A couple weeks ago, God was on my back about something, and I just kept fighting him on it. And I'm like, okay, cut it out, leave me alone. And I couldn't sleep. And then I woke up the next morning, and then I'm reading in the Bible, and I'm like, you won't cut it out, will you? Okay. And then I go to church, and then the sermon was on exactly what I needed to confront with somebody. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I'll do it. And I did. So anyway, I mean, we are sensitive to the Spirit of God, to the prompting of the Holy Spirit. We hear voices, okay? And the other side does as well. You just described a few minutes ago basically a recipe for disaster. And we don't even need MK Ultra people programs sitting by. We don't even need it, okay? And somebody asked about piggybacking. I'm gonna Katie explain that. I'll talk about it here in a minute. But we don't even need MK Ultra, okay? We have basically a bunch of time bombs set to go off, and they could go off at any time. I believe it's real. I believe that they can manipulate these people and do these things, and they don't care. I think about the book here. I should read this to you. I don't know if I could find it. This is Hypnotism by G.H. Brooks. And he said he doesn't care what happens. He said, we're going to hypnotize people. We're going to hypnotize them. Hypnotism and Warfare. This book is from 1947, by the way.
Wow.
Where's my camera at?
Oh, my goodness. Where'd you find that gem?
Yeah. And he brags. I'll read page 198, for example. It says, here we would be coming very close to establishing a case of dual personality. There's nothing at all impossible in this. We know that dual and even multiple personality can be both caused and cured by hypnotism. Moreover, that condition, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde combination, is a very real one once it is established. Okay. So they're bragging about what they can do and who they can do it. Crazy thing about this book, G.H. Brooks, he also had a book called Spiritism. Been trying to get my hands on that. he was, I think he was hired by U.S. military. The very last chapter in this book, well, there might be a conclusion chapter. Yeah. Well, chapter 9 in this book is This Man Hitler. It's about Hitler. So, and talking about all the advances that he made in mind control.
Wow.
And then this was about, let me read another highlighted spot on page 236. It says, the trance is really a very fine example of self-hypnotism and gives us introduction into those weird cases of multiple personalities, which are again produced by a form of auto-suggestion. So,
okay, this is crazy that you're bringing up the trance state because somebody who, oh, I know, Melissa, she was a guest on our show a couple years back, maybe last year. Do
okay.
you remember the school teacher in California?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
She's sends me the coolest emails, but she's got such good information. So she said that the kids these days in her class, they're into trance music, and it's kind of like the typical, what do you call it? Like the DJ stuff, the boom, 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 that stuff. But it's actually called trance music. So I looked it up and I was reading about it, and it's all of like repetitive like beats and themes, and it usually doesn't have lyrics in it, but it can. And it does put you in this, altered state of consciousness if all of the planets align correct. And so again, you've got kids now, they're putting the earbuds in, they're listening to this kind of stuff. They're between the
We
music.
know that subliminal advertising works. It doesn't work on everybody, but
Yeah.
I mean, the department stores or the advertising agencies wouldn't use it. They might have made some laws up against that, but the technology is so advanced, and they don't even need to do it subliminally. People are already hypnotized, so it's easy to suggest stuff to them. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah, no, it was, I'm just kind of like reiterating what I said earlier, that if you've got the right music going on and you have any sort of medication in you, you are not going to be in a sober-minded beta wave state of mind. And if add on top of that being young and full of hormones raging and trauma and stress, I mean, good grief, Tom, I made it through junior high by the grace of God, period. Like my brain was so, oh my gosh, I legitimately made it through by the grace of God. And if I had, on top of everything that I was dealing with, also didn't have Christian parents, didn't have any knowledge of scripture or that Jesus loved me, if I didn't have someone I could go and talk to, like my mom, who would pray with me or who would, bring me back to reality with scripture, if I didn't have any hope for my future, my mom would always say, like, this too shall pass. Like, you're only going to be in junior high a few years, and she would talk me off the ledge. And man, if I had been on all sorts of medication and I was being hauled to a doctor every other day and being slapped these labels, and I don't know, why we don't have more of this stuff going on, to tell you the truth. How did any of these kids get through with all this, working against them?
Vic, I agree. So true. I want to go back to this book because I found the quote that I was looking for here.
Oh, cool.
And this is the book Hypnotism by G.H. Esta Brooks. Okay, written in the 1940s, by the way. And it says this here is hypnotism and warfare. Okay, and it says a nation fighting with its back to the wall is not very worried over the niceties of ethics. If hypnotism can be used to advantage, we may rest assured that it will be so employed. Any accidents, and it has accidents in quotes, any accidents which may occur during the experiments will simply be charged to profit and loss, a very trifling portion of that enormous wastage in human life, which is part and partial to war.
Oh my gosh. All's fair in love and war, right?
Dude, I remember Russ Dizdar reading that quote and just ready to blow his top, becoming so angry, and just like, proclaiming what an evil man G.H. Esther Brooks was. And it goes on here. Here's another highlight I have. It says one in every 5 adult humans can be thrown into the hypnotic trance, somnambulism, for which they will have no memory whatsoever when they awaken. We do not need the subject's consent when we wish to hypnotize them. That's page 186 and 187.
That's scary. Version. That's kind of breaking the universal law. You do have to have consent, and that's the thing about human beings. They're so much more cruel sometimes, even in the spirit realm, because the spirit realm will beguile you and they'll trick you, but they still sort of have to play by the rules. Whereas human beings can break the rules. Like, that's the downside to free will. And so here he's saying, like, you don't have to get the consent. Well, you're breaking the rule there, man. You do have to get consent. They'll be held accountable for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt about it. Vic, here, this guy, this psychologist, whatever the heck he was, this evil, man, is bragging about what they could do to hypnotize and mind control a human being and use them in warfare. Okay. So that's 75 years old. What can they do now? We believe that the technology is much better. It works much quicker.
Effective.
Yeah. And they don't have to have a lot of access, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And
the whole population is already hypnotized. So how easy would it be to get somebody to do whatever you want them to do?
Yeah. Yep. I think now, with all of the technology that we're addicted to, if they flat out came right out and told us, if they laughed in our faces and got on all the major news networks and said, all of this tech, all the black screens, it's absolute mind control. You're becoming like our thralls. How many people would actually get rid of that stuff and get it out of their house?
Mm-hmm.
I think some people would. The radicals would. But the fact is, they're so clever. They have made us addicted to the things that are controlling us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really is a genius master plan. And I have to say real quick, just like I think of the movie by Stanley Kubrick, 2001: A Space Odyssey. If if you look at this screen, it looks like that monolith, right?
It does.
How did he know that? I mean, not saying he did know it, but so I asked this question in my Sunday school class over 15 years ago. I said, would you allow the government to track you everywhere you go? Well, what if they paid you $50 a month? Would you allow them to track you every move you make? And everybody said no. And I said, what about for this much money? What about for this much money? Everywhere you go, they track you. And everybody who said no, I said, well, you are paying to be tracked because you're paying your phone bill and you're buying the phone and they're tracking you. And Vic, I do it too. They track me everywhere I go, no doubt about it. So
Yep. Hey, Katie, can you pull up real quick for everybody the Hilton Hotel in New York City? Since we mentioned the monolith, I want everybody to see this Hilton Hotel that they put up. I think it's right around Ground Zero, too. I think it's by the new One World Trade, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, but it's interesting if she can pull up an image of that. And again, is this life imitating art? Probably, but they do like to put it in our faces. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Vic, you can almost say we live in a strange land, right?
We do. Oh, full circle.
Yeah.
Callback.
Yeah. So,
Oh
but
man.
hey, I want to jump in there and answer this piggybacking
Oh
question.
yeah, yeah.
So piggybacking, um, wow, I remember the first time it happened to me. I didn't know what hit me. Okay,
Mm,
and I'm telling you what, um, it can. I mean, we really have to be prepared. It's heavy, heavy, when it happens. So it's the idea that if I'm, talking to somebody and I say something, I could say something derogatory. I could say something that is constructive criticism. I could say a correction, or I could even say something that is, meant maybe even to be an insult. Okay, I'm using myself as an example. And then the enemy comes in off of that and he attacks. Okay.
mm,
It's a very spiritual, heavy oppression. Okay. Man, I remember one time a few years ago, I was at a conference and I was talking to my wife on the phone, and she said something to me and it just hit me. She didn't mean to do it, and she wasn't purposely trying to make me feel bad, but she said something that I took the wrong way. I was a long way from home. I had to speak the next day. And I'm telling you what, it was like a ton of bricks dropped on my head. So the biblical example for this is when um, Peter says, Lord, I don't want you to go to the cross. You're not going to go. This is not going
mm.
to happen. And he says, get behind me, Satan. So Peter, caring about, Jesus, is coming from a good place.
Yeah.
But the enemy's coming in off a top on top of what Peter has to say. Okay. And there's emotion happening and it's heavy on Jesus. So I'm excited. I'm talking about the incarnation of Christ
Mm,
this Sunday morning at church.
mm.
And dude, there's no way I can fit everything I want to talk about in there. But the idea of the incarnation, conceived by the Holy Spirit, um, fully man, fully God, it's so cool. It's so cool. But Jesus, the reason I'm saying that is Jesus has these emotions, right?
Yeah.
And he has these human emotions, and he has these human, if you want to call them, instincts, like our desires, like thirst and pain and all this stuff. But so the enemy comes in on top of Peter's word.
Mm.
Um, how many times can you think of an example where that's happened to you, Vic? Or
Oh man. December's been rough, Tom, and you're describing perfectly kind of what I've been going through. And you know how sometimes, especially when it gets to be this time of the year and the weather shifts, you can kind of blame everything on the weather. And so I kind of think like, well, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, and I've had a lot of, I've been busy, the weather changed, and so I think sometimes it takes me a long time to figure out that that's happening to me because I have so many other excuses that I I'm not the type of person that's going to be like Satan's got better things to do than like mess with my mind. I mean, I know he does, but that's the way you think. Like I'm not important enough for, him to put any, attention to me. And
yeah,
but it's been crazy. Even just I was talking to Katie before the show, just how um, I have gone through just a cerebral war trying to get this next book finished. And I could probably sit down in a normal state and finish it in a week, but um, I can't get past this wall in my own mind. And it's all of like these what if scenarios and overthinking things and the hyper analyzing, and then all of like the trolling that's coming in through social media playing in your head like, okay, this is going to be even um more opportunities to be misunderstood or to be, you know what I mean? And so it's almost like he's
mhm,
trying to like scare you out of moving forward. And God just keeps telling me your hand is to the plow. And if I have a bad day, I'll hear, Jesus say like, I'm your hiding place. And
mhm.
the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous run to it and they're safe. And so I have to be like preaching to myself. And this has been going on for going on 3 weeks here, where it's like walking through mud to do something that typically I could do very easily if I wasn't being constantly interrupted. But it's all in my own head. It's not, none of it is really happening. It's scary how you can even know that, and it doesn't burst the bubble even when you know it. You just have to keep slogging through.
Yeah, Vic, you said it, and let me just take this moment to continue to ask our listeners to pray for us. So I remember being in the chat and listening to Russ and Russ respond years ago, and I always refer to Russ because he's a great mentor to us, and people were praying for Russ, and now I get that. Nobody knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anybody praying for me because nobody knew who I was. No big deal, right? But now I hear people saying, I'm praying for you, Tom. People send me messages. I'm praying for you. And I ask for prayer, and people say, I'm praying for you. I take that very seriously. I don't want to put a prayer burden on anybody. So if I ask for prayer, I do it boldly because I know that I need prayer. Okay, Vic, you and I need prayer. We're putting on this conference. Okay, Katie needs prayer. All of us involved need prayer. Matter of fact, one of the people on staff that's part of the conference is their main job is to pray for us.
Wow.
And that person needs prayer, by the way. And Vic, I'm telling you, there have been times in the last couple of weeks where I've had amazing times of worship, times of prayer, and then I can go an hour down the road and I'm like, what am I thinking? Where's this coming from?
Yeah.
And I'm repenting and I'm like, Lord, I don't know where this is coming from. This is not for me. I don't doubt you. This is not my heart. Why am I, struggling with this or whatever, and piggybacking is a very real thing. And it's basically, I don't know the words I'm looking for here, but it's instigated by a human. You know what I'm saying? And it can start by a human being saying something to you, and they're not attacking you. They don't even mean it. They may not even mean it in a bad way, but the enemy comes right on top of those words and attacks you, and you receive it. Right? We're humans, and we get thousands of good comments, but why does the bad comments are the ones that we focus on and the ones that we think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard all kinds of people talk about this. It's just for whatever reason, we want people to like us, okay? Or we want to know everything's okay. I don't know if this is how girls think. I heard guys think this. Guys are fixers. They want to solve something, and we can't sleep if there's a problem, and we want to fix it. So no matter what it is. So anyway, that's the way I think, and I don't want conflict with anybody, even the people that hate me. But that's okay if they do. There's a couple out there. But guys, we covet your prayers, and we know people are praying for us, and we appreciate it. I'll tell you, I was putting on a conference, and somewhere around here, I got a poster. I don't know where it's at. A poster for this conference. And this conference was called the Supernatural Science and Prophecy Conference. Okay. We were running out of names for conferences.
A little bit of everything in there.
Early on, yeah. And Tom Horn actually came. And this is the first time I met Joe Horn. Was cool. At this conference. And Tom and Nita Horn were there. They came all the way from Missouri and drove all night long and spoke. And anyway, I remember I was so just I had so much anxiety putting this conference on. And I was in my garage walking into my kitchen, and I didn't hear an audible voice, but a thought came in my head: just cancel the conference. All this will go away. Just cancel the conference and all this will go away. And I stopped and I said, Lord, the reason I'm doing this conference is for you. And I said, I don't care what I lose, I'm going to do this conference. And I mean, for me personally, I have absolutely no funds to back any of the things I do up, right? I'm counting on people showing up. Okay. So, and that's the way that it's been. I will say this, there was a conference that I was putting on in Sacramento, California. I had to cancel it. This was years ago. It's okay. It worked out, you know. But I hated doing that. And it came down to about a week before, and we were looking at things, and it was just like, okay, the math is not going to work out. We have to cancel this conference. And that was really hard to do. And I've only done a couple since then. I quit doing conferences after that, matter of fact. But now we're back at doing them again. But anyway, I felt that impressed upon me. Just cancel the conference and all of this anxiety goes away. And I said, Lord, I took a step of faith. I said, I'm not going to do it. And I don't care what happens. I don't care what the consequences are. We're going to do this conference. And it was a great, successful conference. Amazing things happened at that conference. And years later, people come up to me that I didn't even know and say, man, you don't know this story, but I went to that conference and that was a game changer for me.
Wow.
So, and the same thing's going to happen at Strange Land. Okay. People that have never been to a conference before are going to show up. Okay. And yeah, powerful things are going to happen. We're turning it all over to God, and we are, we're lining the people up, and we're doing things very purposefully and very, very prayerfully. So anyway, again, in case you missed the beginning of the show and you tuned in late, yes, tickets are live for Strangeland. If you live in Ohio, you can, it's close for you. If you live further away, we want you to come too. Yes, look right there. Strangeland, okay, March 27th to, what does it say? 29th, or I'm sorry,
30.
March 27th to 30th, 2025. We want you to come to church. If you stay over, come to church with us Sunday morning. And tickets are live. You can see all the speakers there. And it's going to be at 2200 Bedford Boulevard. Yeah, and you can kind of scroll through and you guys can take a look at the speakers again. In case you're late, 98 days. 98 days of that conference.
Wow.
That's just a little over 3 months. And yeah, that's going to be it's going to be pretty fun. I don't know. I think Katie's got your picture of your building for you.
Oh yeah, let's see the Hilton Hotel in New York City. Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
You seen that, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what inspired them to do that.
It doesn't even like fit the rest of the cityscape. It just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Interesting. As usual, could there be something more to it? Strange land indeed. Vic, I got so many ideas to just kind of play on that word. So
cool.
You're going to get real tired of it by the time March 27th comes around.
Oh man.
I want to try to find a way to fit it into every sentence.
I could fit the word strange into every sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know. The land part's a little harder, but yeah.
Yeah.
Truth is stranger than fiction. We live in the weirdest world. I'm energized.
It's strange.
It is. Right? But I'm energized by it. Like, I don't care how creepy or bad or scary it gets. I'm like, man, these are unprecedented times we're living in. And, maybe we're in the times that Paul longed to live in. And hey, whatever God has in store, this is where he put us. This is our time. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm just energized by, as the enemy ratchets up, the Spirit of God's going to ratchet up too. We're going to see things that maybe haven't been seen maybe haven't been seen for hundreds of years. I'm waiting to see an outpouring of the Spirit of God, and I'm excited for it.
I'm excited. 2025, Vic. And can you believe, 2020 was 5 years ago, but here we are. We I mean, I don't know what's going to happen politically. There's a little pressure off of us. I did my job. I went to the voting booth. I did my job. Now I want to, I want to do what I've been doing. I want to continue to do it. Ministry, evangelism, outreach,
Yep.
deliverance, whatever. Okay.
Yep. Occupy.
And we would still be doing the same thing no matter which way the election went. But
Yep.
it might be a little bit easier for us now. Maybe not. I don't know. They're shooting up Christian schools, so they haven't stopped doing that. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And Vic, if we get any kind of reprieve, then we need to take advantage of it and just evangelize like crazy and prepare and expose and disciple and serve God and just occupy till he comes. Matthew 28. He said he would be with us to the very end. Last words, my friend. It's been a great night. We didn't talk this out. We just kind of went with it, and I didn't know it was going to go in this direction. But
Yeah,
anyway.
it was good. Well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say occupy till he comes. And I think if I just want to kind of backtrack for a second with my last statement here when you were talking about the piggybacking. In my life, maybe half a dozen times, maybe not even that much, I have learned to recognize that when I face this like mountain of terror, like I'm really, really afraid of something or I have a high anxiety over it, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. I wish I hadn't committed to it. I'm trying to find my way out of it. I wish I would get sick. Like the times where I have had the most distress, wishing that I could get out of something has been the most life-changing moments of my life. And so we have to face that fear. We have to discern what fear is normal and what part is coming from the enemy. He kills, he steals, he destroys, he robs. And one of the ways he steals from us is he scares us out of things that God has planned for us. So we've become pretty good at being quitters in this country. Hey, I don't like going to the gym, so I just won't go. We quit when things become hard. And sometimes when we quit, we let the enemy steal something that would be priceless or life-changing. So we got to work through that fear. And I just think it's so fascinating the way Satan said that to you, Tom. Like if you canceled this, this would all go away. And that's not the way God talks. When we're in the crucible, it doesn't just go away. Sometimes, like Joseph, we're in that prison for a lot longer than we want. We're in that wilderness for a lot longer than we want. We're hanging on that cross a lot longer than we want. Jesus doesn't typically tell us just give up and this will all go away, because it's through perseverance. James chapter 1, it's through perseverance and letting patience have its perfect work that we become perfect and complete, lacking in nothing.
Vic, I cannot add anything to that. Thank you, my friend. Great hanging out with you. We will see you guys next time. Don't forget about the conference through theblack.com. You can go there and you can register. Bye, guys. We love you.
Put your magic twiner, Froggy.